Good afternoon, guys, and welcome to the podcast. I'm really delighted to have Eric Mulvin on the show, and he is going to talk to the audience all about AI powered outsourcing. He is based in Phoenix, Arizona, but he remote he manages a remote team in the Philippines and the US, over 250 plus team members. So I'm really happy to have him on, discuss his entrepreneurial ventures as well as where he sees AI, how he's using AI, where it's headed. Really happy to have him on. So, Eric, welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on, Chris. Excited to share a little bit about what I know with your audience here. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah. And briefly, I know you launched a taxi cab company and now you have PAC Biz. And tell the audience your story and your journey, and we'll dive into the questions.
Yeah, absolutely. So I got an interesting background. I used to work at Yelp pre-IPO. So this is back in 2010, 2011. And I took my last paycheck from that job and used it to get a loan for my first taxi. I wanted to get into something I could disrupt. And even before I heard of Uber, I created 50 pages of notes in a notebook for my own app that looks, I still have it somewhere back here. It looks just like Uber's app. And we actually had the first app in Arizona for transportation in 2012, really around the time that Uber was launching here. But anyway, that a lot of lessons learned there. I tell people I got my street MBA there because a lot of experience running a company, working with the government, getting contracts, managing people, growing a business. We got up to 10 vehicles. But one of the issues we were having was the calls. Like I was doing the marketing, running the website, going out doing sales. I had a business partner that was doing operations, managing the fleet, hiring, finding drivers, all that stuff. There was no time to answer the phones, and the phone would be ringing all day and night. Imagine someone calling for a taxi and they're like, it's 3 a.m. and they're like, oh my gosh, I got to get to the airport. Someone's got to pick up. And then we have drivers out there waiting for the ride. So we tried outsourcing to different companies here in town in Phoenix, tried answering services. And eventually I was like, why not just reach out to family in the Philippines? I have family out there. And that we got it running 24/7 by 2013, where we were completely hands off. And unfortunately, the taxi business, we know what happened with that with Uber and Lyft. It's really impacted it. And so we pivoted to the call center. And in 2015, we launched PAC Biz Outsourcing and started with the original 5 employees that we started with from scratch. And over the next 10 years, we just celebrated our 10-year anniversary. We've been able to grow, and now we're supporting like a quarter of our revenue comes from the UK, a quarter from Canada, and then the remaining 50% is from the US. So international operations in the Philippines. We do 24/7 support and virtual assisting, customer service, a lot of back office work. So really crazy. I never imagined that starting a taxi company 10, 15 years later, I'd be owning a call center and pivoting towards AI. But yeah, just probably a lot of your listeners. I think the thing you're trying to teach people is, hey, there's another career, there's another path forward for you. It's not the one you're on, and let's show you some other options. And so it's cool to be where we're at.
Interesting. And what obviously you help business owners and businesses streamline operations, reduce costs, and keep customers happy. What makes PacBiz unique from other remote outsourcing firms?
Yeah, for me, growing up, my family's out there. I heard the stories about the big call centers and how they were treating their employees. And let's say it wasn't the best. And so I knew there was an opportunity to treat people better, make it a place that people love to work. And so we really, number one, actually, that very first employee I ever hired, I made her director of company culture. And so we had a director of company culture with 20 employees, which probably isn't advisable if you're trying to chase a profit, but we had big goals. And that we came up with our core values about 5 years ago: family, respect, teamwork, compassion, personal growth. And we really use that as we make the decisions for the company, who we work with, who do we let go, hire. And because of that, over the last 2 years, 3 years actually, we've gotten great place to work in the Philippines. We have crazy low turnover. When I talk to other call center owners, they have over 100% turnover. So that means if you have a person in the Philippines, you have a team of 100 people, you're replacing the entire 100 people over the next year. That's the turnover rate is higher than 100% in the call center industry. So we've been at about 20 to 25%, which is extremely low. And so for clients, we actually have medical, like we have a medical client here in town. We do the receptionist and help do some of the back office stuff. And it's just pretty crazy what we've been able to do to help their business and help them grow.
Wow. Oh, 100% turnover rate sounds. How do you use AI tools to improve on this process? I assume you're going towards almost, I wouldn't say 100%, but very majority of where you could run your operations with AI and software instead of humans.
Yeah, it's funny seeing the headlines and then business owners are like, "Oh, I could do this or that with AI now." And then you really get into it and you start like going beyond the surface level, like asking Chat GPT these questions. You're like, this is actually a bit harder than it looks. You can't just throw Chat GPT onto any solution and it's going to solve it. And I keep telling my team that. So what we've been focused on is not the technology on the phones necessarily, because there's a lot of companies that have invested a ton into that, and we're not trying to compete there. We're focused more on operations. So there's efficiencies all over the place in companies and bottlenecks and things that people are spending way too much time on, and they shouldn't be because the processes aren't mapped. They're not looking at the documentation for how this is supposed to be done. And so there's so many inefficiencies. So through AI, we're able to get through a lot of that. So instead of spending 8 hours a week on some spreadsheet, now it could be 10, 15 minutes. Instead of spending 2 hours putting together a document for HR, now it's 15 minutes. Even our lawyer in the Philippines was working with us and showing us this AI tool where we can create some legal documents with this AI tool. It's just speeding things up. And what we're seeing, we're 2 years into this, Chris. This isn't like we just started using Chat GPT. What I did 2 years ago, I think because of the space we're in, the call center space, it forced us to have to pay attention to AI before a lot of other businesses really had to. Like there's a lot of, like even in medical, yeah, you could do transcribing. Yeah, there's some stuff there, but it's not, if you don't put this in place, your business is going to go out of business. Like call center industry, every time I hear anybody talk about AI, they're like, I think you'll be okay unless you're in the call center industry. So I'm like, I own a call center. What does that mean? So for the last 2 years, we've been really pivoting, teaching everybody how to use ChatGPT. We have a corporate workspace account for the last year. I've been leading workshops with my company for every other week, teaching them about different AI tools, how to use it safely, what data to put in. And so everything is getting streamlined and everything's moving faster. So we're not focused on putting AI. I don't think anybody wants to only talk to AI customer service. And in fact, the last 3-4 months, anytime I meet someone new and I mention I own a call center, they start going off about AI. Oh man, I'm tired of talking to AI customer service. I wish they would have people. I'm like, yeah, me too. Have more jobs. So that's the direction we're going, is like, how can we improve hiring, training, coaching people, managing people, and then turning around. And now we're starting to help our clients with that. Now we're starting to build custom AI tools for these little tiny issues in their company that, hey, you know what? This will save you 20 hours a month, 50 hours a month. That really adds up. And now profit margins are going up. You're able to start thinking about retirement goals that you couldn't before because your business was eating up all the money. So that's a little bit of, we're focused on AI, not the phones and replacing the people on the phones, but just making those people, like everybody in the company can have superpowers now and do things beyond their ability before AI. So we're just trying to unlock that in everybody.
Interesting. A lot of the audience are healthcare, legal, dentists, accountants, engineers. Where do you see your business fitting into their needs and goals? Obviously, call centers, but how can people listening to this utilize and how you would fulfill their needs and wants and desires?
Yeah, that I realized early on, not everybody needs a call center. In fact, very few. And we're in a niche. It's not anybody, like not every outsourcing company can do everybody. So we specialize in a few different things, but medical is one of the areas we're in. And we are recertifying our HIPAA compliance. We've gone through some IT changes, so we're getting that going again. But I think with our virtual assisting program, whether it's us or anybody, that is something that's one of the areas we're pivoting to. And so you're talking about like, how does AI impacting our business? One of the things is If you look at a lot of the stuff that a virtual assistant can do, and we've been offering virtual assisting for about 3 years. We've got clients that have been with us for years. They're now growing their team and they're hiring other people as their business scales. But the thing there with customer service, virtual assisting, it can really help so many businesses. And we're transforming that, because that's what I was trying to say. Everything has changed with what a virtual assistant can do. There's things like today, ChatGPT 5 just came out. The agent mode has just been released. And you can at least try and get it to book flights for you. You can get it to do things that before only a virtual assistant could do. So now what does that unlock? And we're trying it out. We're testing it out. We're saying, okay, there's some things that pop up. It still needs somebody to oversee it. And I don't know if a business owner wants to jump in and start clicking boxes because it can't get I'm not a robot box. ChatGPT is still a robot, so it's not going to be able to click the box for you. So we're finding where do the tasks change? And not only that, but with AI, like if you have a virtual assistant that has a custom GPT that knows your strategy, that knows your vision, that knows your 90-day plan, your 1-year plan, your 3-year plan, and you're giving her tasks, it's a great way to make sure that they're focused, that the content they're creating for you, whether it's a newsletter, a blog, an email, that it sounds like it should be coming from your company and from an employee. And before, you'd have to review that, you'd have to look it over. Now, like, you could really trust, like, the stuff they're going to put out is going to be good and accurate. And so now virtual assistants could do so much more that people never even realize. So I think that's the opportunity for your listeners here is there are specialists in every industry. So whether you're a doctor, a lawyer, accountant, there are virtual assistants specifically for accountants, specifically for lawyers. And guarantee you, what I tell all my clients when they're talking to me about working with a virtual assistant, there are things you're doing today that you shouldn't be doing. And what else could you be doing to make money and get yourself towards retirement, right? I don't think anybody wants to run their business forever. And if you're doing all the things that you should be delegating or could be delegating to an assistant, how are you ever going to get there? That's one of the big things I push, because every business owner, no one wants to work forever. I want to be like you, Chris, retired super early.
Yeah. The other question I have for you is, because I was reading this post, a lot of tech companies, SaaS founders, and they're, for example, they said that if you have to get a customer on the phone, then you failed as a company. So because now these days, I'll call in and sometimes it'll be like Seattle, Washington, it could be Arizona, it could be Philippines or somewhere. And it's always something different, or it's like a chat bot. And then worst case scenario is I press 0 and I talk to somebody. So where does this idea, do you feel like this area of customer support and service is better mediated by other means, or is this kind of a last resort?
In a perfect world, yes, that you shouldn't have to call customer service. Something failed. But life isn't perfect. Businesses are far from perfect. And so you need customer service. And I laugh when I see stories about businesses that are like, it was an airline about a year and a half ago that were like, we're closing our call center and it's all AI. But that's a choice. And when people complain, you're like, don't get mad at that agent. Get mad at the company that they're the ones that are doing it. We're taking it out on the wrong people. But let's see, I lost my train of thought. So what was your question again?
Where do you see the future of call centers? Because I know, obviously, for example, like hospitals, or they decide whether or not they want to keep that support, or the call centers that are going to be relevant, what are they doing now?
Yeah, here's what we're seeing, right? Businesses that might have needed 10 call center agents in the past might need 2 or 3. And the challenges they're facing now, like the work that was done by the 10 people, most of it, that means like 70, 80% it's getting automated. And we've seen that in the space we've been in, the automation is at about 90%. And it's been like that before AI. So we've been seeing that. But there's still a need for people. The big phrase that I like to say is AI plus HI. Because you can't, like I was saying earlier, you can't just slap ChatGPT on everything and it's going to solve it. Otherwise, we'd all fire everybody and we just have ChatGPT bots doing everything. That's not going to happen. And if it does, we're a long ways from there. And you need people. And the one thing I've been saying is you need a human in the loop. So even if you've got AI running everything, something is going to break, something's going to change. And you want to be like having people available when that happens. And whether it's the phone systems, the self-service tools that you have that are solving it themselves, or just something in your company. You're a SaaS company, you guys push a big update out, and now all your critical customers are calling you. Do you think you want them answering a bot? No, you're gonna really impact your business. So what we're seeing is a lot of people are using us for those critical situations. Maybe they have high-level customers that are doing a big volume with them. You get the customer service people, the live people, everyone else gets the bots. And then if they need help, okay, we'll transfer it over. So yeah, but everybody's investing into AI. The number of jobs is going to decrease, but then what nobody is talking about that I love to talk about are what are the jobs that are going to be on the other side of this? Because we don't even know. Like in healthcare, you probably think all day about, man, how many new jobs can be created in healthcare that didn't exist because of the technology that is today? And it's just really incredible what can happen. There's so much opportunity in healthcare, so much inefficiencies. And so but that's just one little sector. There's so many other sectors that you could be doing this in. Like, for example, with all the video prompts and like you can create video, you can create music. And so we have a person part-time. Part of what they're doing is they're creating clips in these tools for us. And it's not like the first video it gives you is good. It's probably going to be weird. Maybe the guy has 6 fingers. Okay, let's try it again. And then there's something else weird. But that's a job that didn't exist a year ago, even 6 months ago, literally. And one of the things I say all the time, I've been saying since I started my company, is I want to be doing things in 5 years using technology that doesn't exist today. And the biggest thing with AI is now it's not 5 years, it's 6 months. Every 3 weeks, I don't know, like every week there's something new that's coming out and changing. And how can that impact your business? How can you take advantage of it and create new opportunities? And I think everyone's worried about job loss and impacting the business. What about the other side of that? What about the new jobs and the new services that we couldn't do before? So that's what I'm excited about. And hopefully for people that are listening, I know there's people that are freaked out about AI. Don't be freaked out. Figure out how you could take advantage of it.
Interesting. I was listening to this podcast recently with Travis Kalanick, and a lot of the ideas and concepts that you're describing really remind me of AI and outsourcing. He's basically outsourcing operations and automating it and using technology and platforms, creating Uber. What things did you learn just as a kind of a competitor to Uber that you wish you had known beforehand and that really helped you scale PAC Biz?
That's a good question. One of my dreams one day is to make a documentary about all of this, about the taxi industry, Uber. I just think and obviously people have done it. And I think there's just so much more stories to tell and so many other angles to go about it. But I don't know, there was parallel lessons going on as I was doing the taxi business. Uber was coming out, pivoted. Now today we're a minority business enterprise and I'm trying to work with Uber. So it's, the thing that I learned from them is they're a giant company. They were backed by SoftBank, and I think today still, they don't have to make profit. So what lessons can you learn out of that? They came into Arizona and they worked with the governor and they literally rewrote the rules for the taxi industry. And so Uber gave them the list of here's what we'd like the laws to be. And then they turned around and said, these are what the laws are now. And so what we had to follow, the rules changed and everything changed. And I was trying to operate my business under a model that no longer existed. The regulation was removed. There used to be license I'd had to get for every cab. And they removed the people that checked the licenses because of Uber. So stuff like that happened. So what the lesson I learned is pivoting, I think, is what I got out of that, because we were a taxi company and we turned that into a call center. It's a really cool story. The first client we had, they were a company here in town in Phoenix. And when I told him we were shutting down our doors, he's like, "Your call center agents, I've talked to them on the phone. Why don't you bring them down to my office? We could use some good people. I'd love to interview them and hire them." And I was like, there's a little bit of a problem there. They are in the Philippines and they can't come to your office. And he didn't know that they were even in the Philippines. So that was like a sign, oh, this is something here. But what he offered me on a handshake was like, I'll be your first client then. And so that's how the whole thing got started. And for the lawyers listening there, don't worry. Everybody else has a contract. Just for tradition, I kept it no contract. We're good, but not advisable for those of you listening for the lawyer side. But that's how we got started. And that's just, it was a pivot. It was a change. And we're going through that same thing right now. In February, I went out to the Philippines and we did a big talk to our company. And I announced to everyone, we're going to become a tech company. We're no longer going to be considered a call center. And I put 4 people together on an AI innovation team. And 6 months later, we're getting ready to roll out our first software, AI powered software internally. And then there's a lot of people that could use this. We've repurposed it for a marketing agency and it's listening to the call. So if you have ads coming in, it'll listen to the call and tell you, did that person become a customer or not? And what I found out, there are ad agencies all over the US listening to these calls with people in the US. And whoa, there's a huge opportunity there. And maybe that's happening in the medical space too. Who knows? But new jobs, new opportunities. That's the stuff like nobody could ever listen to 100% of the calls coming into a business. And now you can. So what can you do with that? And that's where we're at right now. So it's a transition period. We're pivoting. But I think we went from a taxi company to a call center. So is it that crazy to go from a call center to a tech company? Maybe not.
Yeah. Yeah. What I mean, pretty much every company these days, you have to be a tech company and you have to be an AI company. Otherwise, you're going to be out of business, really. And it's really interesting how you incorporated all these principles. How can people connect with you, reach out to you, and even see how PAC Biz can help with their business solutions?
All right. Yeah. You can find me on LinkedIn, Eric Mulvin, or you can visit our website, pac-biz.com, which we're getting ready to relaunch. Because as you heard me say, we're pivoting. So we're getting a new website. We're getting ready later this year to start doing webinars. We're going to do a lot of training. So follow me on LinkedIn because we're coming out with programming and training for business owners to work with an assistant. Because what I've found over the years is like throwing an assistant to somebody isn't good enough when they're like, I don't know what to do with this person. They don't know how to delegate. They don't know how to manage them. So training the business owner on working with an assistant, that's something we're working on now. We're working on the curriculum. And then I'm going to have you on my podcast. I'm working on a new podcast, Unfinished Business with Eric Mulvin. And that's another way to stay connected with me and I'd love to have you on because I want to learn more about your background. You got some really interesting stories there that I think would be great for my future audience.
Yeah, I really love to hop on the show and just have a great conversation. And again, thanks so much. I really enjoyed this and keep up the great work.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Appreciate you having me on. Thanks so much.